Jeffrey Epstein's gal pal Ghislaine Maxwell just name-dropped President Trump in an interview that you need to hear. The US has sent destroyers to Venezuela due to the tensions with cartels coming to a boil, and former Vice President Kamala Harris could be in trouble as she might get subpoenaed soon. I've got all that and more, but real quick, this channel is focused on keeping you informed with Social Security, US politics, and global news that affects us. If you're interested in any of those, then make sure to subscribe.
I never witnessed the president in any inappropriate setting in any way. The president was never inappropriate with anybody. In the times that I was with him, he was a gentleman in all respects.
Now, we're not going to overanalyze anything here. Maxwell cleared President Trump's name and says that he was never inappropriate during the times he saw him. But he isn't the only president that she talked about. She talked about former President Bill Clinton, a name that we've seen multiple times in an alleged client list, making several visits to Epstein Island. According to Maxwell, Clinton never went to those islands, insisting that both Bill and Hillary are her friends, not Epstein's. And shockingly, she talked about the infamous list, saying that no such client list exists, which I find hard to believe given how much we've been teased about it.
There's no list. There's never been a list.
And you never heard Mr. Epstein talk about such a list?
Never.
There's a twist to this story, because we're now being told not to trust everything she says.
The Department of Justice previously warned that Maxwell, now serving a 20-year prison sentence for sex trafficking, was not to be trusted. In 2022, they told a judge that Maxwell, quote, has lied repeatedly about her crimes.
Moving on, President Trump recently sent U.S. destroyers to Venezuela, which comes as a response from the U.S. against cartels.
Well, the U.S. is deploying destroyers and thousands of Marines towards Venezuela as President Trump looks to crack down on cartels and the Maduro regime. They could reportedly reach the country's coast as soon as tomorrow.
Understandably, Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro isn't happy about this, even going as far as to call it an illegal regime change attempt. Remember that President Trump gave a $50 million bounty for Maduro's capture, with him being linked to drug trafficking, something that has affected millions of Americans. And while Maduro isn't happy with US troops getting close, those who live in Venezuela are singing a different tune.
I think many people in Venezuela are extremely optimistic. They cannot really be loud about it because they're facing a terrible criminal regime. If they express their gratitude towards the United States government and towards President Trump for the pressure he's adding against Maduro, they're going to face horrible consequences. That's why you don't really see a lot of expressions coming out of Venezuela. But, you know, I have people there. I talk to them. They are happy.
Let's now talk about former Vice President Kamala Harris. There's a lot of talk about her as of late, especially when it comes to what she knew about Biden's mental capacity. She said multiple times that Joe was more than capable of leading the nation, although this isn't making sense given that evidence is coming up that he didn't even know who he was pardoning at the latter end of his term. Congressman Jim Jordan recently talked about Harris and the chances of her being subpoenaed.
Is this hyperbole, conjecture? What's the actual likelihood that former Vice President Kamala Harris will be subpoenaed next?
I think Chairman Comer will continue to progress through the investigation that the committee started. Whether he gets to the former vice president and then, of course, the Democrats' nominee for the office of president, whether it gets to her or not, I don't know. I think that'll be driven by the facts and what we learn in the whole course of this investigation. What I do think is probably necessary at some point, we probably need a whistleblower to come forward because, you know, former President Biden said they had a process where they filtered through how the whole auto pin worked, who got, particularly when it came to the pardons and the things he did right at the end of his presidency. It seems to me, short of a whistleblower coming forward and saying that they definitely broke the protocol, didn't follow the normal process, something like that, I think it's tough.
I'm not putting much hope into whistleblowers since they can't provide evidence other than their word, but it does make you question whether it was Biden or Kamala that was leading the country for the past 4 years. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Before I go, please consider subscribing to the channel and dropping a like. Thank you for your time today. Talk to you in the next one.